Okay. This is a meeting of the City of Gloucester Historic District Commission on August 9th, 2022 at 6 p.m. The chair is yours truly, David Porpa. I will call the roll. So just please say present. Arlie Pat,
Present.
Steve Goodich,
Present.
Carmine Gorga,
Present.
Bill Remsen,
Present.
Rob Chandler,
Present.
Barbara Lambert. Maybe not. Okay. And David Porpa, yes. Okay. And we have Greg running, helping us out here. All right. Well, I'm just going to go in the order that the three applications are listed. Do we have Abraham Reichik?
Yes,
Okay,
talking.
all right, so the first order will be request for a certificate of appropriateness to erect a sign at 37 Main Street. The owner is Mike Jr. and Rosalie Lentini. As I understand it, this sign is going to replace a similar sign using the same bracket and chain. You want to tell us anything else, Avram?
I mean, there's not much more to say. There was the bracket is pretty high up, higher than other brackets on the street. It is close to maybe even 14 feet high. And the bracket protrudes almost all the way to the street, covering the entire sidewalk. That is the existing bracket.
Right.
And I am looking to place a sign based off the existing bracket with the existing chains. And when I brought down the signage guy who does signs, I got his name from the Chamber of Commerce. He was on the list of those who were approved for to print signage for the grant, which I applied for the grant, but I have not received it. So I brought him down. He told me the dimensions. He's the one who told me which dimensions would work with the existing brackets and not too big, not too small, and which material fits in. So he suggested a 42 by 42 inch sign, double-sided, made out of PVC.
Okay, PVC material and double sided. Do any of the members have any questions for Mr. Reichik?
Do we have an image of the sign?
Yeah.
I may have missed it, but
Let me share that.
okay.
Does everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
So that's the location of where it's being proposed.
Yep.
And I'll give you the image. A second.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and those are the
you.
colors too?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so it'll be that magenta color and okay. And the design of the letters, that's exactly how it's going to appear. Is that correct?
Yes, so assumingly yes.
Okay. Any questions at this point from anyone? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve whatever your wish is. We'd like to do that. We need a motion from someone.
I move that we approve the sign as described.
Okay. And can we have a second?
I'll second.
Who was that seconded?
Steve Gooding.
Oh, Steve. Okay, good. All right. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, I have to, the vote has to be taken by roll.
Attention all JetBlue customers flying on flight
So,
2017 to
Just
New
say
York. We will begin boarding
yes if
shortly.
you approve.
Here at
Arlie
8:11.
Pat?
Yes.
Steve Goodich,
Yes.
Carmen Gorga,
Yes.
Bill Remsen. I thought I got a indication Bill was with us.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Oh,
sorry, I
okay.
was
Do
muted.
you approve, Bill?
Yes,
Yes, okay. Rob Chandler?
Yes.
Okay, and Barbara is not here, and I approve too. All right, so it looks like we have a unanimous vote in favor. So that takes care of that. And the community development will help you with that, Mr. Rychick. They will, if you talk to them, they will tell you what you need to do.
Okay.
We'll get your approval and so forth. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
So you're set.
All right, thank you. Can
Good.
I can leave now?
You
certainly
can. Enjoy your trip.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I didn't know he was going on a trip, but that's okay. All right, so we've got that out of the way. Next is the Campbell Funeral Home, and Bill Petrosino, you're there, I believe.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we're looking now at a certificate of appropriateness to remove and replace an existing staircase on the driveway side of the building. Okay, so this is at 61 Middle Street, Campbell Funeral Home. So Bill, you want to describe what you're going to do?
Yes, we're gonna remove the existing set of stairs that are there. And we are gonna just, we're gonna tear them down. The brick and everything will be disposed at a recycling facility by Wham General Contractors of Beverly. They're gonna pour a 6-inch pad for the new steps with a wire mesh in the concrete for support, for tension support. And then I got either two choices. We got either a brick prefab stair, which are brick side and granite treads. That's what we were picking right now to go with. It's about $6,000 cheaper than the granite. And it would be just a 42-inch deck and then 3 steps down to the driveway. There you can see the existing stairs right there.
Right. You're doing both sides?
No, there would be these steps would be coming out, right? The set of steps would be coming out and 3 steps right down to the driveway. We wouldn't have the both sides. We
You won't
just
have
want to
both sides.
we just want to come straight out to the driveway.
Okay,
It'll be
All right.
easier for the people and the door wouldn't turn into them when they're opening it. It'll be a
Okay.
straight shot.
okay.
And they are gonna have metal railings will be installed. Either type we go, whether we go with the brick or the granite. What they did is they gave me a price on the granite stairs of an 8x8 deck, as you can see there. And I want to have them give me a price on a 4-foot deck, 4-foot-by-8, and that might cut the cost of the granite down. And it would be the same size as the brick stairs I'm talking about, with a 4-foot deck and 3 steps down. And if I can get that, I'll go with the granite, if I can get the price down a little bit. But I'm gonna either go, if I ask either, if I can either get but if I go with the brick, it'll be brick veneer sides and granite treads. And of course, granite would be the all granite. And they were gonna come straight out the door about 4 feet, 3 steps down to the driveway with metal rails on each side.
Okay, any questions from the members?
Is the rail going to be comparable to the rail that exists there now?
Yes, wrought iron rail, proper code height, black railing.
Okay.
So to clarify, you haven't made a decision on which choice of stairs you want to
Yeah,
use at this
When I
time?
filled out the permit with Shelley at the building department, I said, yeah, because we got a price and we would probably go with the brick veneer. It's about $6,000 cheaper. But like I said, I noticed on the bid that they put an 8x8 deck on the granite instead of a 8x4 deck. And if I cut it, if that amount of granite cuts the price down a little bit, I think Mr. Campbell would go with the granite either way. I put that both on the permit, either granite or brick. With
Well-
the brick would have granite treads, and of course the granite steps are all granite.
Well, in all fairness to this organization, I think you need to have major selection prior to.
Well, I
coming-
can go, then I'd go with the brick then.
Okay, so we're gonna say the brick veneer sides, granite
Yeah.
treads.
Right.
Good. Okay, and then metal rails similar to what's there. All right.
Would there be any opposal if would I have to come back again if I went with granite? Just either way, if I was just doing either step with granite or brick, would you approve either one?
Let's say this, I think Steve is right. We need to vote on something. We will vote for the veneer. If you don't take action on that and decide to do the other, you can come back. And
Oh, I'd have to come back for another meeting. I couldn't approve either one right now.
well, how does the,
I just asking just to say,
okay, well, how do the other members feel about that? Do you
I'm
want
just
that
going-
kind of,
they're gonna be the
a-
same- they're gonna be
a
the same
wide,
they're gonna be the same thing, except one,
Right.
either granite or brick. If you'd
Yeah.
approve either one, if you don't mind either one, I'll bet the one I can get the best price on.
yeah,
I'd like to get the granite honestly, but I don't know if he can come down a little bit.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the commission? Would you like to give that leeway?
Can I add point of a question?
Yes,
Yeah.
Bill.
It seems to me that there are two issues. One is what materials, where we have potentially two options, it seems like. And the other is a change in design
Yes,
from an 8x8 platform with two stairs to something that's either that or a 4x8 platform with a single stair.
no, what we're doing, sir, is a 4x8, the platform would be 4x8 on the top, right? When you walk out the door. with
Yeah,
3 steps straight down to the driveway.
Yeah, that-
Either type of, either type of steps, whether it's brick or granite. That would be the
That's-
same.
yes, no, that's what I'm saying, but that's
Yes.
different from what's there right now.
Yeah, I would say it is. Yeah, it would, because these steps, the current steps, they have steps going out to each side.
Right, you've got,
And what we would like to do is tighten that up so we have more space. And then you see the swing of the door when the people come, that door ain't gonna, like, if they're coming up one side or the other, the door would swing open and they'd have to try to get around it. So this way, when the door's open, it's just a straight shot in for the people. And everything's a straight shot. We were just trying to get rid of that because the door has to swing out, obviously, for fire code.
So there'd be rails on both sides, right?
There will be rails on both sides, right?
Okay.
and also, it doesn't look to me like that existing stair arrangement and all that is particularly historic.
No, I don't,
I would agree with that, Bill.
Yes.
I don't think it's original. I think
I inspected it, and yes, you're absolutely right.
I don't think it is. I think the front stairs to the place are original, but not these, no. So I would just like to get approval to do either the brick or the granite, if you gentlemen agree. And if I can get a little better price on the granite, I'd go with the granite, because I know it's more durable. But if I can't, I'll go with the prefab stairs with the brick veneer and the granite treads.
Okay, is that acceptable to,
Do you have any pictures of that?
Of what?
Of the,
The brick looks like
Prefab.
this. The brick looks like that. That's the brick veneer steps.
I'm sorry, I don't see anything.
You don't see it?
No.
I'm just holding it up to you right now. Do you see it at all, sir?
No, it's strange that we're not.
Yeah, but you're not, your picture isn't up.
No, that's,
You
It's
could,
not up.
Your
Right.
video's not on.
Your video's not on.
Oh, how do I turn the video on? Hold on. Bear with me, please. Hold on. How do I turn video? Hold on.
The
Yeah,
little
I could ask-
icon in the lower left.
Mary, how do I turn the video on this? Mary. how do I turn-
there's usually a little camera there on the left and you click on that.
Bring your cursor down to the bottom of the screen and a little, a line of icons will show up. And one says stop video or start video.
Oh, start video. I'm sorry. Got it, sir.
Yeah.
I can't see. All right, right here.
Okay.
Good.
There we go. That would be the
Okay, Up
brick.
higher.
Hold
Hold
higher.
it up higher. Okay, so that's, yeah,
That's the proposal.
That's the brick veneer steps. Those are prefab steps with brick veneer and granite treads and the black railing.
Mhm.
I got a set of granite right here. Yeah. I got granite right here. They don't have, this picture doesn't show railings on it, but it will have railings.
I think
It's
the brick
4
looks
feet.
better if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, it's 4 feet wide and it projects out 8 feet.
Yeah, it's 8 feet wide and projects out 4 feet. Both set of steps are the same way. They project out about 4 feet
Okay.
and have the steps going, have 3 steps going down. Straight out to the driveway. So either set of steps would be the same diagram, the same size, just different material. I would, if I could get a better price on the granite, I'd go granite, but right now I'm leaning toward the brick veneer.
My part, I think the brick looks better, but that's just me. I don't know.
No,
how the
no,
others-
yeah, no,
others
that's
feel.
true. Yeah,
Anybody
whatever
have a
you guys-
comment? Okay, on that, any of the
I mean-
members want to, go ahead, Bill?
There's certainly precedent historically for all granite. I mean, it was always just a much more expensive
that's the thing.
option.
The front stairs to the building of granite.
Ah,
I can just show you what the front stairs look like on my phone. 1669.
Yeah.
That's
I-
the
I
front
think-
of that's the front of the building right there.
oh, hold it up higher. Okay,
That's the front of the building there. I think those were original stairs. They seem to be. But in the back ones were built at a later date or something. But either way, like I say, either way I can go with either way. I'd prefer to go, Mr. Campbell right now would go with the prefab brick because it is about $5,000-6,000 cheaper. But I was saying if I could get him to, do a little better on the granite, maybe we'd go. I just want to have a price. I just would like to get approval really of either or from you guys. If you'd be satisfied with either one, that would be perfect.
I think the granite would probably be nicer looking. It's kind of odd to approve a proposal that's not very explicit, but
Well, like I'm just saying, I like to do either or. I'm kind of going with price, sir. And if I have to pick right now, then for the price, I'll put in the brick veneer. But if I had the option, if they gave me a better price, if I could get the price down with the contractor on the granite, maybe Mr. Campbell might go with the granite. That's all I'm asking either way. If you had no objection to either one, I would just,
I think it might be possible to allow that. We could,
if you
Make
guys
it-
like them both and have
we
no
could make an
objection to either
approval.
one.
We could make if everyone else is willing, we could have a motion that would say that you would go with either veneer brick sides and granite treads or full granite if the economics allows for it. Would we like to do that?
that's okay with me.
Okay.
I don't know how everyone else
let's-
feels, but
Okay, so let that be the motion then, all right?
what can
Yeah,
I
go
add to
ahead.
that?
Yes,
um,
Bill.
Can we specify that the project would demolish and remove the 8x8 landing with 2 sets of of steps with railings and replace them with a 4x8 landing with side rails and a single set of steps.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do.
And
Yes,
then,
okay.
and then we can say brick or granite.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, the deck would be approximately 4 feet, 42-inch deck. How the stairs come. And then with the 3 steps down, straight out with railings on each side.
Okay. All right, is that, everybody satisfied with that? Okay, well, let's call the roll then for approval. Arlie? Arlie Pet, yes?
Oh, sorry, yes, I didn't, I was
Okay,
muted.
I'm sorry. Carmine Gorga,
Yes.
Rob Chandler,
Yes.
Steve Goodich,
Yes.
Bill Remsen,
Yes,
and yours truly, David Porpa, yes. Okay, well, then that's unanimous approval.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay,
Now, what do I do is go to do I go back to the building department and get a
well,
permit now?
you'd talk to the community development first.
Excuse me?
Talk to community development over on Pond Road.
Yes, yeah. Is
Yeah,
that Shelley?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shelley.
Bill will-
Shelley.
That's
We'll
who I filled out
contact
the
you.
permit. That's who I filled
Great.
out the application with.
Yeah, Bill will contact you when the permit is prepared.
Oh,
We have
okay.
your contact information, and then you'll just go through the regular building permit process.
Okay, so everything would go through. So if I can order, because what I have to do is if we decide on whatever material we go to, I have to order it. They said it might be 6 to 8 weeks if we go with that, so I'd like to get the order in. Would that be okay to order now?
Yeah, I mean, we'll issue the permit as soon as we can, and I would
Okay,
always like to have
yeah,
things
I'll
in
wait
hand
then.
before I
I'll
buy
wait.
things.
I'll wait, because it's like 6 to 8 weeks, they're telling me
Yep.
for the material to
Yep.
get cut and.
It'll just be a couple of days.
It won't, good. I go, okay.
Yeah.
I get that out because I'll order it next week. That's all. I was just hoping to get the permit. So I will be notified when the permit's
Yes,
ready to
we'll
pick up.
contact you when you can come back to Pond Road and probably pick that up and also process your building permit.
Okay, because I paid for it with Shelley and everything. Everything's all been done. She's got a copy of the builder's proposal I gave her, and she's got the pictures and everything.
Yep.
Or at her office. I left her, she got a copy of everything.
Yep.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure meeting you guys. And I appreciate the time.
Okay, we're doing our job.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Thank you very much for your
All
time,
right.
gentlemen.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
Do we have a representative from the library?
Good evening,
David,
good evening, gentlemen. So this is Jenny Benedict. I'm the director of the library. And if you could,
hold 1 second, please. David.
Yes.
Steve Goodich, I have a small disclosure.
Yes.
My wife and I have been selected as corporators this year for the Sawyer Free Library, and I just wanted to disclose that prior to this meeting.
Okay.
Hey, I've got to make disclosures also. I'm a corporator for the library, have been for over 10 years, and I'm also a member of the board at the Temple. So I'm
Next door.
on both sides. I have a
Okay,
conflict.
all right, well,
and I do too.
okay, so you're an incorporator too,
Yeah.
Bill?
Yes.
Okay, good, okay, so Steve, Arlie, and Bill are incorporators, plus Arlie is at the Temple next door. Okay, that won't stop you from participating, 'cause that's just full disclosure.
You still have a
Okay, so-
quorum, right?
Yeah,
you
but
still have a
yeah,
quorum.
but I want you all to participate, there's no reason.
Right, but no,
not.
but you still have a quorum for a vote.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And I don't think you should abstain. I think you should vote. Right, but you can abstain if you want to, but as long as we have a number, we have a quorum to conduct business. If one or more people abstain, that doesn't eliminate the quorum that we have, right? But I mean, I think you should participate. I see no reason that you shouldn't, participate in everything. Okay, that being said, Jenny, do you want to go ahead?
yes, and if I could please, we have Murren Sibley, who's the president of the Sawyer Free Library, and also Matt Oons, who will be giving this evening's presentation, and I believe they are in the online. If you could please let them in.
Well, I don't,
There's Matt and there's Mern.
I don't see-
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Greg, I believe there's people from the temple also that are attending the meeting.
Do you want everybody promoted in? I see,
Well, that way they can make comments, yes.
I mean, I don't know if you want, are they part of the presentation or you're going to take public comment at some point?
You
You can take public comment at the end.
Okay.
David,
Okay.
David,
In
Oh,
terms,
Prudence is.
I have
has
not been able to
joined.
get on.
Okay,
We can hear you, Prue.
yes.
Yeah, I've been here since 10 minutes of 6, but
Oh,
and I've got the audio, but not the video.
well, I'll put you on for now then. Okay.
so David, I think in answer to your question, we have everybody present who's going to be part of the presentation. So would you like us to proceed with that at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I will proceed. Good evening, everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Maren Sibley. I'm president of the Board of Trustees of the library, Sawyer Free Library. And we're here tonight to request a certificate of appropriateness for our renovation and expansion project here at the library. And I also want to introduce other folks. I don't see all of them, but they are available also after or during the presentation to answer questions too. So Jenny Benedict is the library director of the Sawyer Free Library, and Brad Dorr is the principal of the firm Dorr and Whittier, who's architectural firm, and Matt Odens is our library architect. He's the designer of the library, and I think we have Ron Lamar somewhere. Ron is also an associate at Dorr and Whittier. Do you know if Ron is here? I don't know. And we may have Neil Joyce here as well, who's our owner's project manager for the project. So most of you know that the library has been engaged in a renovation and expansion project for the past several years. And our goal is really to provide a welcoming and spacious 21st century Sawyer-free library for the whole community. And we've been working hard on this goal for the past 5 years. Back in 2017, you may recall that we had an original idea for the new library was a completely new building on our site at Dale Avenue. And we presented that idea to the community, and it was very strongly objected to. The design was not appreciated. So we basically listened hard to those objections. We recalibrated the project, literally went back to the drawing board and crafted a renovation and expansion of the 1976 Monell building. And basically, we did a lot of outreach with this revised plan. We got a lot of community input, and I can say at this point, in 2022, that we really have a strong base of community support for this renovation and expansion design and for the whole idea of what a 21st century library is. And I won't get into that tonight, but libraries have changed. You guys should know that if you don't already. So now, currently, we're in the stage of getting approvals for the project, including a critical one from the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, and they've awarded us a very generous $9.3 million grant. And one of the very important approvals that we need and want is from this commission. And we last presented our project to you back in June of 2019, when our architect, Matt Odens, presented a preliminary design at that time. And tonight, Matt's going to walk you through the key points of the design now as it's envisioned. So it's a bit changed, and he'll let you know what's been going on. So I turn it over to Matt.
Thank you, Mern. Am I able to share my screen? Let me see. I think I need to be promoted to screen sharing in order to get my presentation up.
I think you should be able to. You were brought in as a panelist.
When I click on share screen, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, we'll fix that.
Greg, I also think he came in under my Zoom link because he
Yeah.
wasn't able to come in before.
There
I
you
see
go.
it now. Thank you.
Okay, is it charging?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, can everybody see the screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
That's not to work.
All right, so thank you everybody for having us tonight. It's been 3 years since we presented this project to you. We've done a lot since then. It's been an interesting few years. But I wanted to start off with the site plan. The building hasn't changed dramatically from what you saw previously.
No, it's not charged.
In large part, it's the same components, the same general approach. This site plan, the new site plan here in the middle of the screen, shows in light blue the existing building footprint. Saunders House is in gray because it's actually not part of the scope of our project, but it will still remain connected to the library. And we can talk about that when we get into the plans. And then in a darker shade of blue, you see a new addition outlined here with the majority of the new addition pushing out to the west, which is really where we have area available to us, and a small sliver of addition along the south side of the building, and I'll explain that later. What we heard from you as a commission, what we heard from the community was a strong interest in preserving the look of the Manel building as seen from Dale Avenue and this prominent corner of Dale Avenue and the pedestrian walkway between the library and the Central Grammar apartment building. In addition, preserving the landscape that is along that north side of the building and along Dale Avenue. In terms of landscape improvements, I think the single biggest improvement is that we are creating an accessible entrance finally from Dale Avenue to the Dale Avenue entrance, which doesn't exist now. Currently, people have to walk all the way around the side of the building, down a level and in the back of the building at the basement, and then come up through the stairs. So this will be a major change with a combination of ramp and sloping walkway that kind of switches back and gets you up to an entrance. The other thing we're doing is we're straightening out the entrance approach, and we're opening up the entry from the street, and you'll see that in the views that we share. As part of that, we're creating a larger entry plaza that includes the relocated and restored fountain with the fish sculpture in it that I know is a beloved artifact. We're preserving and enhancing the garden in front of the library, including the existing amphitheater. And then on the north side, we are extending the walkway that currently takes you from the entry plaza down to the amphitheater. That's going to continue as a sloped walkway, no guardrails. Currently, if you look at the existing plan, and you can see my cursor, there is a handicap ramp with guardrails along the right-hand side of the property, which is also alongside this kind of sloping walkway of the what used to be the road here. What we're proposing is that we pick up this kind of winding path that takes you from the plaza down to the amphitheater, through this north garden and sloping down. Now that we have more length to work with, we can make that an accessible walkway without guardrails down to an entry plaza at the lower level, which serves the lower entry. So moving into the plans then, as you all know, this is a 3-story building built into a sloped site. Existing plans are going to be up in the left-hand corner. Proposed plans are the larger plans on the screen. Again, Saunders House is shaded gray because it's not part of this project. The line here that you see on the right shows you where the end of the existing building is. And so this is all new addition to the west. This is the existing footprint of the current building. The way that the program is distributed through the building, we have community program and staff primarily down at this level. That includes an entrance from parking, covered entrance from parking, to a lower lobby, a community meeting room of about 110 seats, flexible space, stacked chairs so you could put them away, put out tables, reconfigure the room. We have an operable partition which will allow it to divide into 2 separate program rooms. facilities appropriately sized for the library and for that function. Staff
Matt,
space
you
is,
don't have to go through much about the
Okay.
inside because we have no jurisdiction over.
got it. Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
If you want, if you talk about the inside because of something that's going to happen outside, then that makes sense. But otherwise, we don't need to know about what goes on inside.
Understood. Thanks
Okay.
for the clarification. I'll go a little more quickly then through the plans.
Yeah.
I do think it's important to note that this shaded area that's blue is intended to be accessed off hours. So we can close down the entire library with the exception of this lower level. So that means that the community room, lower lobby, and restrooms, support spaces can all be accessed off hours when the library is closed. So it just builds in a certain amount of flexibility in terms of the way the community can use this building. This is the main level, the Dale Avenue entrance. As I mentioned, there's now a straight entrance in from Dale Avenue straight up the steps to a covered porch and straight in the building. The existing condition is a little more meandering, up steps, into a porch, turn right, into a vestibule, turn left to get into the library. So this is a more clear shot entry from Dale Avenue. We've also opened up the corner so that it's more visible. The 1913 wing, which was a stack wing added to the Saunders House, is converted to a gallery. So we're relocating the gallery that was at the entrance into this space for an expanded gallery area, and continuing to use that as a connector between the library and Saunders House. This floor is where all of the adult collection and adult programs are. And then there's a third floor which houses the children's room and the teen space. One thing to note is that we've filled in the central hole in the top floor plate, and we've opened up the floor plate at the corner. We've eliminated the 2 fire stairs. So we've made great efforts to make that front of the building more open, more visible from the street and also from the library out to the street, in keeping with the importance of this as an important public building. This is the roof. Again, the lighter blue is existing roof. So we're maintaining the existing hipped roof of the Manel building. This is the roof of the 1913 wing. We are putting on a new porch, which you'll see in the elevations. And this is, again, the footprint of the addition. It's a flat roof. We are planning on solar panels wherever we can manage to get them. We have some rooftop equipment. There is a light monitor over the central atrium, which brings natural light. In terms of the Manel roof, the one modification we're making is we're replacing the existing lantern with a new lantern that has more glass in it so that it actually brings more natural light into the building. So now we can take a look at some exterior views. So this is pairing a proposed view with the existing view. So this is the view from Dale Avenue. I'll just point out what I was just mentioning. The light monitor on the Manel building is now replaced. It's the same height, but instead of a hipped roof, it has a flat roof, which allows us to increase the amount of glass and get more natural light into the building. One of the things we're trying to do is bring in as much natural light as we can to reduce the dependency on artificial lighting. As you can see, we're maintaining the 1913 building. We are opening up the front of it with a larger glazed opening, replacing the windows that were in between the stacks. We are extending the porch all the way across the building, and we're opening up what was a more solid brick corner in the 1976 building with more glass to make that opening, or make that entrance more open, more welcoming, and more clear in terms of patron wayfinding. One last thing to point out about this view is that we've made efforts to get rid of all the mechanical equipment that's currently sitting on top of the 1913 wing, which you can see in the photograph, the equipment plus this screen that you see here. So we have eliminated that and moved that to the back of the building, sort of getting it away from this more important view and putting it on the flat roof of the addition. Moving now to the north side of the building. So now again, you're seeing the Manel building. This white dotted line here down the middle is obviously distinguishing between what's existing and the addition, which is to the right. One thing to mention, we had in an earlier version, we had proposed opening up this corner, this northeast corner of the building, and putting in a new, more glassy projected bay window. We've moved away from that, eliminated that feature, and we've gone back to really just maintaining the existing Manel facade on that entire north facade and the east facade. So the view, the existing view that you see in the upper part of the slide will, for all intents and purposes, be maintained. In terms of the addition, it's again 3 stories. It is the materials are a combination of ground face CMU at the base, which is intended to pick up the kind of masonry scale of the painted brick in the Manel building. And then the upper 2 stories are a cement panel that use this expressed vertical fin, picking up the kind of vertical language of the projected brick fins on the Manel building, but reinterpreted in a new way, but creating that a kind of comparable scale with stacked openings and creating a kind of cadence around the facade that's similar to what's in the Manel building, but again, reinterpreted for the new addition. You can see here the covered entry from the lower level entry plaza. This is then moving around to the parking lot. So standing in the parking lot, looking back up towards Town Hall, again, you're seeing the covered lower level entrance here at the corner. And then this is the south facade. With the 1913 wing on the right, you're seeing the roof and clear story monitor of the Manel building beyond. This one thing to mention about this facade, this, like a lot of public buildings, all 4 sides are visible, but if there is a back to this building, this is it. In terms of its visibility, it's the least prominent facade on the building, and it's also, even though it's a fairly small footprint of addition, it's doing a lot for us. And the reason that the facade on this side is predominantly blank it is 2 reasons. One, it houses a new elevator, fire stairs, bathrooms, etc. A lot of the things that are making this building work are kind of located along this side. The other thing is, because of its proximity to the property line, we're extremely limited in terms of the number of openings we can have based on code. So we're restricted in terms of openings, and we have a lot of solid elements on this side, and that's part of the reason why it has a different character than the other sides, where we're trying to maintain as much of the glass and transparency, visibility, and natural light as we could. And just a quick note about the materials. Again, I mentioned that the base of the building is intended to be ground face CMU. We're looking at a light colored CMU that would be compatible with the painted brick on the Manel building. The upper portion is the material you see at the bottom of the screen, which is a fiber cement panel. We're looking at a combination of smooth and this kind of corrugated panel that you see here in the middle, again in a kind of buff color that picks up the general tone of the existing building. And with that, do you want me to stop sharing, or is there something that you want me to put up while we take questions?
We've pretty much seen what we need to see. Members, do you have any particular questions about one of the views that were shown that you'd like to see again? Or?
Matt, could you put the Dale Ave facade or elevation up? That's the most sort of emblematic. Thanks. I think it's really very nice. I mean, I think
I do too.
It's really improving maintaining the inherent characteristics of the Manel building, but improving it in ways that will make it a much better building, I think, and a much more open, effective public face of the library to the city.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. Yeah, I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
David?
Any other comments?
David,
Yes.
it's Ollie. Could you bring up the back, what you call the back side of the building? Yes. Along that side, if you look at the top small picture, you'll see that there's 3 Monell windows that are being eliminated. And that's what we see primarily from the temple. They consider it their backside, and that side of our building is what is used most. That's the door that's used most. It's the entryway that's used most, and we have most activities that are outdoors, which we have a lot of in that area. So we're losing, some architectural detail. 3 Monell windows to be exact, 2 on the right side and 1 on the left side. But it's being, the building that's being extended out. It would be nice to actually have 4 Monell type frames of windows put back in the design. They don't necessarily have to be fully functional from what my perspective would be. If you go over and look at the KPM Museum and see their Monell windows, they have them blocked pretty much for exhibit purposes and various galleries. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be, functioning glass window, fully functioning glass window. It could be, a framed, faux window, if you want to call it that, of the Monell design put back in, and have that, the image of the glass and whatnot in place. I don't know if also, Greg, if you can put the members from the temple that are present on the call so that they can ask questions.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to open up to public comment right now?
If the members have satisfied, and you don't need to ask any more questions, we can open it up to the public. But go ahead, Bill, please. Yes.
I think there's a lot more to discuss, but I see no reason not to let people from the temple comment on the facade that they'd be staring at.
Sure. Okay, well, let's do that next then.
So I see 5 attendees. If anyone would like to speak, if you could use the raise hand button, that should be in the center of the bottom of the screen. And I see Jen Hockerman and Richard Quaitman, so I'll recognize Jen first. Hi, Jen, you should be able to speak.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thanks, everybody. I'm a member of the temple, also an avid library user, and I'm on the temple building committee. And so I wanted to sort of echo some of what Arlie was saying. I understand that this is referred to as the back, but it really is an active space that the temple uses for all kinds of things, including, in the era of COVID, we did our whole Simchat Torah out there. We do barbecues with the kids on the weekends. They use it for religious school programming. It really is a space that it's not just a few cars back there. It is a space that we use a lot. And I understand that the building code has very limited restrictions because of how close you are to the building property line. But that addition is part of this work. You're not that close to the property line now. The design of the building has put you that close enough to the property line to bring in these restrictions. So I guess I just want to echo Arlie's sentiments that we really hope, as temple building committee members, that there's something else that can be done for this facade, which I would argue is not the back, but just fourth facade of the building, that can be sort of more accommodating to the fact that this is a really active space for another community building, which is right adjacent to the library.
Okay, and I'll recognize Richard Quaitman, and I suppose the development team can respond after all the comments.
Thank you, Greg. I don't have any video capability apparently, so I'll just leave it as my name, Richard Quaitman, and I am president of the board of the the Temple and also a Gloucester resident. And as Arlie and Jen have said, we in general support the idea, wholeheartedly support the idea of library expansion. We think it's necessary. We are very concerned, and we have had meetings already with representatives of the library requesting a revisitation of this facade. It was a decision, there's made comment about the limited ability to have windows due to the proximity to the property boundary. This is something we'll be taking up with the zoning board, but a decision was made by the designers to move the building to a distance literally abutting our property boundary, such that the number of windows is limited. I would reinforce Arlie and Jen's comments that we would like to see this revisited, more windows, even if they are facade windows with appropriate lighting. One thing has not been presented in here, which may be of relevance too, is if there's any exterior lighting that is going to light up the sides of the building at night, and what impact that might have on the neighborhood in general and the temple specifically. Thank you.
And there are no other raised hands.
So if I could, I'll try to respond to the comments. I'll take the last one first, because that's probably the easiest. In terms of exterior lighting, we do not intend to light facades of this building. We will have exterior lighting, but that will primarily be related to egress. So we'll have a light at each of the egress doors. We'll have lighting at the underside of the canopy over the lower level entrance. We'll have lighting in the underside of the porch at the front entrance. We will likely have some step lighting associated with the front stairs and with the front ramp and walkway. All of the lighting will be done with zero cutoff fixtures, no light trespass beyond the site, no uplighting. Everything would be in keeping with general standards for dark skies. I think generally speaking, the exterior lighting will be kept to a minimum. That's perhaps the easier one to address. In terms of the south facade, I will say that this is something that we are continuing to study, and I think that there's perhaps a little bit of room for modification. However, just to call up the site plan again, you can see the property line here on the left, and you can see our building footprint here. So we've added really a small amount, but when you look at the plans, that bit of footprint actually does quite a bit for us in terms of accommodating elevator, fire stair, bathrooms, etc. The reason that we are building there is because the main priority really was to maintain these two facades, the Dale Avenue facade and this north facade. We expanded as far west as we could, and any further expansion would have limited the parking lot. We're already about as tight as we can get with the parking lot, and we've gotten to a point where we have support from the city and from the MBLC. But I think any further expansion west would really put the parking lot in jeopardy. And so we feel like there's really no alternative but to have this bit of expansion on the south side. We are at the closest point here at this intersection between the property line along the west side of Saunders House and then the south property line of this larger parcel. It angles away from the building, so by the time you get out to this end, we're further away, obviously, than we are here. We've stepped the building in here in order to allow us to get more fenestration in that area. I think that increasing the number of windows is probably not a realistic expectation. We can look at the deployment of those windows. I know that currently they're organized in a kind of continuous ribbon in this central portion. We can look at perhaps kind of recalibrating that so that we're doing stacked windows in a way that's more appealing. In terms of replicating the Manel windows, we generally work with a lot of historic properties, and we generally try to adhere to the Secretary of Interior standards, which really says that you need to make a clear distinction between a historic artifact and a new addition. And so I think trying to create a kind of arched window motif on something that is so clearly a different, a different building of a different time, to us, as designers, doesn't feel quite like the right thing. This addition, I don't think, will limit the activities that the temple has in the rear of their property. It doesn't encroach on their property, and it shouldn't limit that in any way. In fact, I in a way, I wonder, could this provide a canvas for the temple that might be useful for, projected images or that type of thing.
Matt, I wonder if, the north facade of the building where you have the colossal order, you have the tall vertical openings in the modern building, that sort of goes away on this south side. And I wonder if that might be a strategy to carry some of the characteristics of the Manel building in a much more direct way than the strip windows do around to this side of the building.
Yeah, Robert, do you mean, so this expression of the vertical fins, if that found its way into the middle?
Perhaps, yeah, and the north side,
Yeah.
That's a fairly opaque facade. It's a way to deal with the finite number of windows that the building code would allow adjacent to the property line. In other words, if more of the characteristic, I certainly can't speak for the temple, but if more of the characteristic of the north facade of the addition reappeared on the south side, it would allow you to get that colossal order that characterizes the Manel multi-story arched openings, and is a way to manage the amount of fenestration. You've already got that system, and maybe there's a way to carry it further along the south side of the building.
Yeah, I will say that we did look at that, and one of the challenges is where the windows are based on the space behind them, and where we're actually able to do that. But I take your point, and I think that's something we could look at, certainly. We would be, if we were able to make that work, I think we would be supportive of that as a design solution there.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just recognizing Jen Hockerman has raised her hand again if you want to hear additional feedback.
Certainly.
Okay, I'll allow her to speak.
Thanks, everyone. Would you mind going back to that view that faces the temple? Thanks. I think that sounds like a nice idea, sort of looking at the concept that you have wrapping around the whole addition. And I've seen the work you guys have on your website. I know you do beautiful buildings. I'm sure there's a solution that can be applied to this facade. I think the idea of looking at that central window piece and how that connects is nice. I also just think these are very large, tall, big CMU walls that are going to be now right up against the property line. So while you're correct that it doesn't impede the actual space, it's not coming over onto the temple property in terms of the actual square footage that we have back there, that doesn't change, but the feel of it really does change with these large CMU, like monolithic facades. It really doesn't have the same character and feel as it does currently. And I agree with you about not replicating historic features of the existing building, but I just think that there's maybe more that can be done on this facade, not only in terms of that central window piece, but also in terms of the two very monolithic facades as well.
Oh, you have your hand raised? You're muted.
Hi. I'm wondering what the two windows that are in the white ribbed vertical rib section, what those look into, where your cursor just went to a second ago.
Those are windows into study rooms on the middle level.
Okay.
These are the windows here.
And as I've said, we really appreciate the willingness of the team to reevaluate this. It very much has a industrial park sort of look, something we'd see up in Blackburn Tavern, or Blackburn Industrial Park, not in the tavern, pardon me. And while I can understand the wish not to reconstruct false historical, when we look at currently in Venice, they would call it a scorcia. It's a view between buildings, and from Middle Street, you look to the library up our driveway, and there's the two Manel windows. And now, as Jen said, you'll see these very monolithic CMU panels. I do encourage you to reevaluate this, because it is going to be, right now when we're in the parking lot and our congregants are there, whether they're adults or children, they're looking out over vegetation and clear skies. And in the future, they'll mostly see a very large wall. And that would be problematic. The other thing we'd ask you to look at is the possibility of adding some vegetation in the space between the new building and our property boundary. Right now, there is vegetation.
In terms of vegetation, I think we will put in whatever vegetation we are able to between the building and the property line.
And landscaping isn't something that the HDC gets into either. So, we're not involved in that at all. Anything else from members or the public? Yes, Bill.
I have a lot to say, I'm afraid.
Go ahead.
The reference to the Secretary of Interior Standards for Historic Preservation, I'm very familiar with these. I've worked for many years with Brown Morton, the co-author, who based the original Secretary of Interior Standards on the Venice Charter. The point of distinction is not to make it look radically different. It's to make it look harmonious and yet identifiable by close investigations by a professional. In other words, it's not supposed to be a radically different thing, but you're not supposed to be able to falsify history by making an exact, precise copy that no one can tell the difference between the old and the new. So it is not an authorization to make something radically different per se. That's just a point. Greg, can I share my screen? Greg?
You should be able to.
Oh, okay. Actually, can we go back to that? Okay, I'll share my screen. Host is disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, I'm going to let you in. Shelley set this up in lockdown, so here you go.
Okay, let's try that. Nope, not yet.
You should have permission now.
Okay. Okay, so let's just go through a couple of things here. Let me get to the first floor plan, which we've seen. Okay, now this is the encroachment area along here. Can everyone see that?
I'm just seeing the
south elevation.
Group of JPEGs on your screen.
Oh, you can't see it?
I only see I see a dozen.
It didn't open up.
Thumbnails.
No,
Yeah,
didn't open.
It did for me.
Didn't for me.
Oh,
Well, that's really weird.
yeah,
It still doesn't open up. David, you can see it?
I can see it, yes.
And
Matt,
no
maybe
one
you-
else?
You could share
No.
your first floor.
Bill, I think it might be sharing like a window or a tab. So if you stop sharing, you might be able to, when you hit the share button again, you'll be able to identify the actual image that you want to display.
Or if you share your whole screen, it might make it easier.
Okay, wait a second. So you can only see the small ones. Well, let's go back to the, no, this is very frustrating.
If you say share entire screen, then we'll be able to see everything that you do.
Hang on a second. Advanced sharing options. Let's see if I can do that. No. Sorry about this. Well, no. So you just see the thumbnails.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, can we go back to the 2022 first floor plan, please? I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah, Greg, I give up. Okay,
Bill, this one or the one below?
the one below, please. Okay, you don't see my cursor, do you? No.
I do
Okay,
not.
if we can focus on that fire stair, that vertical fire stair at the corner of the 1913 addition. Can we blow that up a little bit? Okay, great. Okay, now here's my question to you. There is a door from the 1913 basement that goes out into this walkway that goes from the 1913 basement down to the parking lot. And that doorway, it's a steel doorway, is how you get into the mechanical space under in the 1913 basement, which is where the boiler and hot water heater and stuff is for Saunders House. And the only other way to get there, as far as I know, is, well, let us just say that's the practical way to get to the mechanical space. And I'm concerned that deleting that doorway will possibly cause a problem. And in your 2019 design, you had quite a different arrangement of the mechanical room from the new addition, which is, or from the new library, which was up against the 1913 basement. And there was a way to get through from one to the other. And also the fire stair went out directly onto the sidewalk there, the walkway. And it seems to me that by pushing into the walkway, you've eliminated the access to the basement of the 1913 wing, and also made it, where does the person that comes down this fire stair, where do they go to get out in case the building's on fire?
Bill, the door is not actually showing up in this plan, but there's, I believe the plan is that there is a door, there's a few steps up to a door at this end, so that there's a way to egress out onto the library property. It doesn't show up here. Let me just see if it shows up on the first floor plan. It doesn't. I believe the intent was that we had a couple of steps up that was getting you out a door, so we would still exit here. In terms of the 1913 wing, I just want to point out, you mentioned the 2019 plan. It had been our intention at that time to remove the 1913 wing altogether, including the basement, and reconfigure this whole area. We have since moved away from that, and the decision was made to keep the 1913 building, to the greatest extent possible. And so we're now, we're living with that existing condition. There is a way to get into that basement currently from inside the Saunders house, and the Saunders house, including the basement of the 1913 wing, which houses the Saunders house mechanical, again, not in our scope, is going to be renovated under a different project by a different architect. And so if there are any access issues, I would think that could be addressed as part of that renovation project. But the intention is not to have a connection between the library building and the basement of the 1913 wing, which is at a different level than the lower floor of the library.
I understand what you're saying. I still think you're eliminating a potential fire exit from the 1913 part, and also the service access. And I also think currently the emergency exit from the fire stair you're talking about would be, instead of exiting onto a sidewalk, would be exiting onto a grassy hill that's going uphill away from the door. I'm not sure how that would be received by the fire marshal.
Bill, are these things really in the Historic District Commission's purview? I know you're leading up to something else, but
I think we have a special, well, this is an aesthetic exterior issue because we're, potentially changing the outside, but it's also changing the function of the adjacent part of the library, the Saunders house. And so I think I think it's appropriate to consider the issue that what we're really talking about is the southern extension of the building and what the impact of that is in terms of not only egress and fire safety, but also aesthetics, as people have already mentioned. I do have a couple of other questions about the materials that you're proposing. Why not use brick instead of concrete block?
Well, I mean, we actually looked at brick. The switch to concrete block was partly made. It was a value decision, frankly. We're a number of years have passed since we've started this project. Construction is not getting any less expensive, and so with every year that goes by, we are facing escalation, and we've been trying to combat that in a way that doesn't compromise the scope of the project. And so we've made some value decisions, all through the project. That was one. So that's why we switched from brick to CMU. It was a little bit less expensive.
You're just saying it's cheaper, right?
It is cheaper, yes.
Yeah. And yeah, I have to admit, I'm a fan of brick. I mean, you look around, the adjacent buildings are brick or wood or stone.
Almost everything is.
I'm not a big fan of concrete block. I mean, that I associate polished concrete block with prisons and highway rest stops. I mean, it's the cheapest stuff you can get. It's also indestructible, but it's not.
This Bill, this is a ground face CMU building. Now, granted, I'm not saying that this is the type of building that we're proposing, but I think it comes down to how it's used. Yes, it is used on a lot of firehouses and a lot of, kind of mediocre public buildings, but I think that it can be used well, and it can be a handsome material if it's used well. We're panelizing it in a way that we're creating reveals. We'll actually have a shadow line there that you can see in this elevation. I think it shows up here as well. So I think the way that we're handling that material is a little bit different than what you would see in the types of buildings that you're thinking about.
Yes, I would hope. The, can you hold with that facade there, the north elevation? Your 2019, you don't happen to have your 2019 elevation in hand, do you?
I don't have it
Okay.
available right now.
I do suggest people look at it. That elevation seemed a lot nicer. There's a technical term. To me, aesthetically, it was your addition was you had a base, masonry base, and the floor lines were identified, and the eave and soffit line were identified, and mostly it was a glass box that went on the west side of the building, and I thought that aesthetically that was a good decision. And it seems that you've backed off from that, and I suspect for financial reasons, because it was probably more expensive.
No, it wasn't financial, Bill. It was actually, as we got into the development of the project and the design, there were certain realities that we had to deal with. One was structural. We needed some shear in that addition. So we needed some solid exterior walls. We also, when we got into the reality of laying out the program more carefully and doing shelving counts, we needed more perimeter shelving. We had program that needed to be on an exterior wall that did not really want window. And so, based on those kinds of developments of the sort of natural course of the design, we had to move away from really what was a diagram, of an all glass box sitting on a base. And I don't disagree that there was something simple and elegant about that. And we've tried to maintain the general strategy of a base with something else on top, a giant order object sitting on top of that base. Now, granted, it's not a glass box anymore. It's morphed into something else, but I think the clarity is still there of the vertical expression of the fins, uniting those two floors and kind of creating a giant order, around the backside of the building. So I think the strategies are the same as they were in the 2019 scheme.
I don't, obviously we're not commenting on the interior plan, which I have no issues with anyway. The other, okay, here's a minor technical issue. You're using, say, these fiber cement panels. What kind or what fiber are you using in that?
Well, it's a public project, so we have to list 3 equal products. We can't be proprietary, but the basis of design currently is a oh God, no, I'm blanking on the name. Equitone is the product. Another one that's a comparable product is Swiss Pearl, which is one that you might be more familiar with. That's a fairly well-known fiber cement panel. What the fibers are, I'm actually not completely sure what they are. But Swiss Pearl and Equitone both are fairly high quality products in that family of products.
I just have to ask again about the concrete block versus brick. What is the cost difference per square foot installed?
I don't remember, and it was one of many line items that we included in our VE exercise the last time we went through this. I don't know offhand what the cost difference was.
It would be interesting to know that. I kind of agree with Bill, and I must admit that Bill's question about why isn't it brick, given that the other building is, and if it was painted white brick too, it would match better, I suppose. Is the cost difference that high that the brick can't be?
It's pretty significant in the overall, particularly since if you think about the fact that through the process we've been trying to, we're chasing a little bit of the marketplace here right now, right, as everyone knows. And we looked at that and, you know, it off the top of my head, I'm saying it's somewhere around 20% difference, right, in terms of that. And when you look at the exterior wall square footage here, that's a substantial amount. And so what we're trying to do is we're really trying to balance out so many different things here, while at the same time not lose track of the functional integrity of what this building ultimately is designed to do, which is serve the community and create a 21st century library. So, you know, that balance is always a challenge to strike. And, you know, I think part of what we heard here tonight is, you know, maybe what we want to do is look at that elevation, right, that's facing the temple. And, you know, we heard a couple of things about potentially looking at, you know, trying to reinforce some of the verticality of those windows. And as Matt said, you know, we have some limitations there, not only with respect to code limitations, but our ultimate goal in terms of sustainability and trying to be able to maintain an attainable EUI for being able to, you know, make this building meet the performance objectives that we have. But maybe what I can say is, you know, I think we as the design team can commit to going and seeing if there's some opportunities there to do that. I think as a couple of the members have said, you know, we want to try and remain focused on, you know, what's within your purview. And I think as you, Mr. Chairman, has said, you know, we're really focused on what the exterior aesthetic is here. And, you know, we want to try and accommodate you as best that we can.
Sure. I also want to point out that, you know, we do not have to vote on this tonight. If you wanted to go back and rethink some things and work more on that facade and the side there, we can simply vote to you know, give you time to, and you can let our secretary know, Shelley know, you know, when you're ready, and we'll come back and we'll consider it. So if you want to do that, we can.
Could we revisit the self elevation, please? Hey, Arlie, can I ask you a question? Arlie?
Yes, yes,
Can you hear me okay?
yes, Steve.
Okay, can I ask a question? Are you and your group at the temple, are you, for the lack of a better term, are you offended by both flat monolithic walls? Or could you live with the one on the left if the one on the right was, they turned back into more of a Manel look?
Yeah, I'd like to see what the whole presentation is, you know, like on the whole wall and how it fits together.
But the way that you use the back of the back of your space.
We'd like it to have more character, you know, in the Monel style we've been happy with. I mean, if I could show, I have a photograph of what it looks like now when you look from Middle Street down our driveway to the back wall, which would be the large east panel.
Right. So would a possible compromise be if the Manel building was to maintain, say, more of its original look, and the new addition was to be separate from the Manel building? Would that be something that you might, in your organization, might consider?
Yeah, that would be an improvement. And I'm just, you know, speaking more from myself and what I've, you know, been concerned about. You know, what I'm saying is that, you know, I can see that you could reframe, you know, the Monel style windows where the two gray panels are on this side. You know, you can put the two back on the east side, and you know, just framing it, and you can put, you know, faux windows by just putting something behind the glass so that it looks like a real window. And then so you could put two there, and then if you go on the west side, which is part of the new extension, you could put, there'd be room to put two more there. You know, we get one now, two more I think would help balance it out a lot better.
Right. Well, I mean, the new addition is still a new addition, and
Correct.
And, you know, that's something.
But I'm looking at, you know, what visually, you know, is seen as one, you know, perspective from, you know, our parking lot, our, you know, back entrance, our rear entrance.
Just a little food for thought, that's all.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at anything that, could be perceived as an improvement because I know people have been displeased with what this looks like. And they like to see, an improvement.
I can
Because
agree
not
with that.
not only are we losing the, the details in what it currently exists, but the building is being moved closer to our building in our property. So it makes it more, confined.
Okay, just-
Which is within zoning, I believe. But I'm just saying, what the feeling you had, it makes it more closed in, so it maybe needs to have a little bit more detail to make it not feel as back alley.
If we go back to the floor plan, I mean, I know you have a fire exit designed in that space, but do you also have a storage closet designed in that space, 3 stories also?
I'm sorry, tell me where you mean, Steve?
I'm up the basement first and second
Basement.
floor plans. Do you have a storage space adjacent to the fire escape and all from all 3 levels?
On this floor, it is a storage room. On the next floor, it's a bathroom for the staff. And on the upper floor, it is a bathroom for, it's the family restroom for the children's room.
Okay.
So it's bathroom on 2 levels, storage room in the basement because we didn't need a bathroom there.
Got it. Okay.
So maybe, right, my sense is we're probably not gonna reach like a conclusion here tonight, but maybe what we can do is if we can focus a little bit on thinking about the fenestration a little bit more on the south elevation. Is it reasonable, right? And maybe we can take a look at, and I don't want to speak for Matt because Matt's the principal designer on this, but maybe internally we can kick around a couple of ideas on some of the larger, right, non-fenestrated portions there. But other than that south elevation, does anybody else have any, kind of I hate to ask that, but I think that's part of the process here, right? It seems like most of the discussion has been focused on the temple elevation. And if that's the case, then I want to make sure that we're focusing our attention on that.
I have a question. Can we go back to the south elevation, please?
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Okay, here's my question. You did mention that you were taking the HVAC equipment off the roof of the 1913 building, which in this elevation looks like you have, but you've put it over on the flat roof of the addition. I have to admit, it's always an architectural problem of how you hide the necessary compressors and various other mechanical bits and pieces up on a roof. Several thoughts occurred to me. If you extended the hip roof, for example, you might be able to create a wall to hide the mechanical equipment. And I know that you've got solar panels and also a skylight up there, but I don't know, what were your thoughts about trying to hide the mechanical equipment on the roof? That's visible from that'll be quite visible, I think, from the adjacent buildings.
Well, it's visible from the back of the building. And again, what we were trying to do was prioritize the Manel building and the view from Dale Avenue and the view, along really of this corner, this most prominent corner here, the northeast corner. And so getting it off of the 1913 building, which also, by the way, makes the connector, it brings the scale of the connector down. And so thinking of this as a connector between 2 larger buildings, having the scale of it smaller makes sense visually. So that was part of the incentive, but it was also just trying to, get rid of equipment that was kind of gumming up the works here. In terms of your view from the most prominent street. And so, as a compromise, we thought we would try to locate it on the addition, which is the furthest away from the public way. And yeah, granted, you'll be able to see it from certain buildings, but we were trying to take it out of visual play to the greatest extent possible. Just in terms of the hipped roof, and you can't really see the hipped roof in this view because you're down too low, but one thing to mention, that the hip roof, where it meets the exterior wall, is less than 8 feet above the floor. And so we actually have, at one point we had considered trying to tuck the addition in under the eave of the building. It just was not practical in terms of being able to make a connection between the existing building and the addition. And so there isn't really a practical way to expand that hipped roof out further. And you can even see here, the roof of the addition actually has to come up and overlap the back edge of the hip. And we're trying to maintain the corner of the hip here, which is why we have that reveal between the addition and the existing building. So there really isn't a way to use the hip roof to extend that far out.
Okay.
Like I said, we put it in a place where we hoped it was the least offensive. Like you say, it's never something that is an easy thing to deal with.
I don't have any problem with that, really.
Yeah, I can just add that the connection where you're going to be taking the HVAC off the roof and moving it back to the new part of the building. Whenever it was maintained and whenever it was upgraded, they had to come into the temple yard and put cranes in and all that to work on it. So it wasn't a very practical spot for it anyway. I think it will be a lot more serviceable from the back.
Brad, back to your question, what's the overall view of the commission? And I can only speak for myself, but my sense is most of it is working very well. I think it really improves the relationship between the library services and Dale Ave, which I think of as the front of the building. I think that the character of the addition, quite nice. It respectfully relates to the Manel addition without copying it. It just feels like that the good things in the building fall apart a bit on the south side against the temple. And I'm sure you can find a strategy largely within the vocabulary you have of making that part of the building work as well as I believe the rest of the building does.
I agree, Rob.
Yeah, well, thank you. We appreciate that. And as I said, I think Matt would agree, right?
I do, yes, thank you.
Let us take a look at that and see if we can't, kind of play on some of the verticality, right? That, is inherent in the Monell building there, and, try and follow, in the addition, some of the architectural goals that we have there, and see if we can't blend those two a little bit and, come up with an idea and bring that back. Does that seem reasonable to everyone?
I would also like you to just do me the favor of reconsider brick instead of concrete block.
So Bill, I would be happy to do that. And, I think this is really, not in the hands probably as much of the designers right now, just given the cost considerations. I would think what we can do is we can come and take a look and try and get a sense of, kind of on a unit price basis, what that differential is.
I would be interested in that number.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is really one of the most public and prominent buildings in Gloucester. More people will go through this. It really needs, it'll be a landmark, essentially. And so I think we really need to make it not only do all the functions, which I think your design is working well for that, but I think we have to make it look like something people in Gloucester can be proud of, and it'll last for many generations. So I think we have one chance to get it right. So that's what I'm hoping we can fine tune the design a little bit.
Yeah, I think everybody shares that goal.
Is there anything else? We can vote to continue this, but does anybody want to give any more input before we? do
I
that?
just want to say I appreciate everybody's considerations.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, then,
So David, are you generally trying to hold with monthly meetings on the second Tuesday?
well.
Because we should probably try to think about a date certain for the continuance.
We don't have to do that. I mean, that's the normal way, but if it improves or if it helps the client to schedule a meeting sooner, we have done that before.
Okay.
And we can do it again. So, yeah.
So I know I can speak, Mr. Chairman, for the design team. I think what we'd like to do is try and get pencil to paper and come up with something, and then we can report back to you here
Yes.
in the relative near term and let you know how successful we think we've been. And if we're able to advance that from your monthly meeting, we'd like to try and take advantage of that, just given our overall schedule.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, but if you're in touch, with community development and so forth, Shelley will, Greg will arrange that. So, for our next meeting. All right. So if there is no further input, then I think we need a motion for a continuance. Could we get that?
I move to continue it to a future meeting.
Okay, so Rob and second.
Okay, second.
Okay, Carmen. All right, so I have to do roll call for this. All right, Arlie,
I'm recusing myself.
okay. Carmen,
Yes.
okay, Rob,
Yes.
Steve,
I'll excuse myself also.
okay, Bill,
Yes,
okay, and yours truly, yes, and Prue? You there?
Yes. Yes,
Prue? Okay, yes, okay.
yes,
All right.
yes.
Yes, okay, so we're set. So we have voted to continue this and to an unspecified date dependent on the client. All right. Do we have any other stuff to come before us? I think this is all that was scheduled. All right, in that case, motion to adjourn.
Make a
So
motion.
move.
Okay. Steve, and seconded,
Me.
okay. Okay, and then again, I'll have to do the roll call. Arlie,
Yes.
okay, Carmen,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Bill,
yes.
Steve,
Yes.
okay, Prue,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay, and David Porter, yes. All right, so we are adjourned, and we will wait to hear from the client, and unless something else comes down the pike, and then we'll reconvene and deal with it. So I thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank
Thank you.
Good night to all. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.